All right. So, okay, my name is Kenneth Ntende. I'm the CEO of Monkey Pesa, and today we'll be talking about B2B leads acquisition. And now, what does B2B leads acquisition mean? This means how do you acquire leads for your B2B business? Now, B2B businesses are people that sell their goods or services to other businesses. Meaning, if you're in the world of digital marketing and you're getting other companies to do digital marketing for, that is B2B. If you're supplying produce and you're selling to other businesses, that is the world of B2B. Now, whether you're selling a good or a service to other businesses, that is what we consider as B2B marketing. So in this webinar, we're going to be talking about how do you actually go about acquiring leads for your B2B business. Here's what you should expect from this webinar. Number one, I will explain how the B2B world works, meaning how do you go about actually getting a business from saying, you know what, this is what we're selling, to a point where they come back and say, okay, we're going to buy this item from you. And number two, where do you acquire these leads from? So the second segment we'll be talking about will be concerning where exactly do you get the leads for your business from? And number three, what do you do once the leads have been acquired? So yes, that is what we'll be talking about in today's webinar. But before we proceed, I would like to tell you a bit about Monkey Pesa. Monkey Pesa is an all-in-one customer support tool. We put together different tools that your customer support team needs. Our recent product that we launched is called the Inbox. Now, the Inbox is one centralized tool that brings together all your social media, and that's Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. It brings together WhatsApp, brings together all your email into one centralized place. And from this place, your customer support or marketing or sales team would be in position to respond to queries of different customers. So that is the latest product of Monkey Pesa. So if you would like to check that out, or if you believe this is important to your business, please go ahead and visit monkeypesa.com. You'll be in position to get a feel of what that support product would be like for your business. So yes, to get us started, let's start with the first segment that we intended to talk about. This webinar is going to be 10-15 minutes long. It shouldn't take much time. But to get us started, let's start with how does the B2B world work? Now, the B2B world is a bit different from the B2C world. I mean, this time around, you're selling to businesses, meaning the decision-making process is a bit different. If you run an advert on Facebook saying you're selling shoes, it's very easy for someone to come and literally just buy the shoes from you. But if you're selling your service, say you're selling digital marketing services, it's a bit difficult for you to wake up and just run an ad and tomorrow the person comes, unless they're a really, really, really small company, but it's extremely difficult for that to happen. So in the B2B world, there are three processes. Yes, the first thing you need to understand is what is my target audience? Even when you're selling to businesses, you need to understand what your service or your product appeals to. It may not work for all businesses because there are three categories. They are what they call the small businesses, and they are what they call the medium enterprises, and they are what they call the very large corporations. So depending on what your product is like or what your service is like, you need to understand how you're actually going to maneuver selling to these different categories of people. I mean, if you're selling to small businesses, it's much easier. It's a more direct sale. You're talking to probably 1-2 people, and these 2 people are the decision makers. So it's quite easy for you to close such a sale because it's a small business. But the larger the type of corporations you make, the more people you have to deal with in the decision-making process. You might meet the marketing manager. The marketing manager has to involve his boss, then maybe the CEO overall. So the larger the corporation, the more you need to understand that the decision-making processes is a bit different. So for small enterprises, it's quite straightforward. Once you get to the medium-sized companies, it begins to get a little harder. But the advantage, yes, it's a little harder, but the amount of money medium enterprises are willing to pay is a bit more. Then you get to the larger enterprises. These sales tend to take a while, meaning in some scenarios you will take 6 months to close one sale. They're extremely complicated, but once you get in bed with the large corporations, number one, they are willing to pay. And number two, their lifetime value is extremely high, meaning once you get in bed, you're going to work for a really, really long time with them, 3, 4, possibly 5 years. So the first thing you need to do is identify what is my community, what is my type of business, which kind of business am I actually selling to? Is it a small business? Is it a mid-sized business? Is it a large corporation? Now, after you have identified the category of business you want to sell to, the second step is to determine who specifically within that category do I want to sell my products to. It's important you have about 10 people, 10 kinds of organizations you want to sell to, just to give you a bit of context of what the customer persona is. Take an example, if you're selling marketing services and you're targeting mid-sized corporations, get a feel of, you know what, let me sell my services to betting companies, let me sell my services to graphics companies, let me partner up with customer support agencies. Just get a feel and get an actual understanding of who do I want to attack first. It's in the best interest that you actually get 1, 2, 3, 4, 10 actual examples of people, of the companies that you're interested in selling to. And the third thing is, of course, understanding how many sales am I trying to close within the month? How big is my sales team? How exactly do I go about getting the result that I want? If I want 10 sales a month, is my team large enough to actually be in position to close the 10 sales? Because for you to get 10 sales, you're going to need to meet 50 people. So allocate on that. If we're meeting 50 people and we're 3 sales staff, let me distribute, let me give 15 people to salesperson number 1, 15 companies to salesperson number 2, because it's from those 15 that you will be in position to close some 5 or 10. Yeah? All right, so now after you have identified those 3 segments, the next thing for you to do is actually dive deep into what they call the acquisition. So what I'm going to do for this case scenario, I'm going to actually show you my screen of if you were to begin looking for your leads today, where exactly would you look? So I'm going to share my screen. I'm going to share my laptop, so you see how exactly you would go about doing that. So just a second. Yeah. Okay. All right. So let me share my screen up. So if you're in position to see this, you just let me know. If you're not, please leave a comment below. I can still adjust my screen. So just to give you a bit of context, for the people that are on TikTok, I'm going to pause this live and restart it. You can join in after that. I want to use my back camera. All right. For the people that are attending the webinar, so you could just follow along. I'm going into my browser. You could now check that. Let me just let the people on my TikTok join in as well. B2B sales. Okay, just a second. I'm looping in the people on TikTok as well. All right. Okay. I just wanted to loop in the people on my TikTok as well, just like the people on the webinar attending. So there are core 3 platforms that people use for B2B sales acquisition. Platform number 1 is a platform called Crunchbase. Crunchbase, the URL is in the description right here. Then LinkedIn is one of the most powerful B2B sales acquisition platforms ever. And for this segment, I'm going to show you exactly how to leverage these platforms when closing sales. The third one is Instagram. I'm going to literally take you through each and every one of these so that in case you're acquiring leads, this is how exactly you go about it. So to start with, I'm going to start with Crunchbase. Now, what Crunchbase is like, remember before this segment, I told you the first thing you need to do is identify who exactly do you want to buy from you. I'm going to use an example of a company. Say you want BitPesa to become one of your clients. Literally go into this platform and search for BitPesa. Now, after you get BitPesa, the second thing you need to find is these similar companies. Similar companies just means the companies that are similar to this entity. Luckily, we have 2 things that we're going to do. Number 1, we want BitPesa. So the first thing you'll do is go to the people under this company. Usually it provides an organogram so you can see who is actually behind this entity. So for this specific case, for BitPesa, someone called Elizabeth Rosiello is the CEO. Now, after you have determined that, okay, I wanted BitPesa, I know who the CEO is, your second step is now to go into LinkedIn and search for this Vanessa. Elizabeth, I mean, literally search for her and create a connection with her. You can literally go ahead and connect with her, just like that. Come back to that company, and from there, literally go to this last tab. It's called Similar Companies. Under the Similar Companies, it will show you companies that are similar to this company that you are searching. So this is where this platform comes in extremely handy. It not only gives you who is behind the company, who are the decision makers within that company, but in addition to that, it also gives you which companies are similar to that organization. Say you are looking for a Flutterwave in Nigeria, and you wanted them as one of your customers, or DuSuPay here, right here in East Africa. Search for them and click the company, and it literally shows you which companies are similar to DuSuPay. If you wanted it, it goes ahead and gives you details of who is actually behind those organizations. So Crunchbase ranks among the top platforms that you can use. Literally just have an idea of who are you looking for, and the platform itself will go ahead and suggest who is similar to the kind of people that you're looking for. So it comes in extremely handy, especially for people who are just starting out. You don't necessarily have to know the company, but all these platforms that I'm going to suggest not only give you details of what the company is like, but who is similar to those corporations. So the second platform is our very own Instagram. People never actually know how to use Instagram for businesses. I'm going to use the same example. Say I wanted to research about BitPesa. I can literally go here, search for BitPesa. But the most important tool in finding similar companies is this drop down, this little drop down. So once you select that, it shows you other companies that are similar to the companies that you're looking for. So I searched about BitPesa, and from right here you can see Bitcoin Badger is probably similar to BitPesa. That's why Instagram is recommending it as a channel. So yes, when you're doing your research, step 1 is first identify what initial companies you want to search. Then step number 2 is go ahead and research what are the similar companies to the company that I was looking for. After you have identified whatever similar companies, literally draft an Excel and know that, okay, number one, this is number two, this is number three. These are the similar companies. After putting all those together, come to Crunchbase and understand who are the people behind those corporations that I'm interested in. Now, after you have identified those people, that's when you come down to LinkedIn and go ahead and do research. Put in those people, understand that maybe I want Mr. Benjamin Kabali because he's a part of Monkey Pesa. So literally have him there and send him a connection. Once people get onto those connections, most of the time they will just accept them. Now, what we're going to do in this next section, we are going to talk about what do you do after you have established that this is the company that I want, this is who I'm interested in, and these are the people behind the organization, these are the decision makers. So that is what we're going to talk about next. But before we go, just give me a second to change up my screen on TikTok. All right. Okay. All right. So once you have ascertained which companies you're interested in, like I said, get 10 companies, get 5 companies, then use Instagram as a platform or Crunchbase to look for what are the alternative companies. I'm sure out of 10 companies, you will get about another two, three companies per company. So it's very easy for you to move from 10 to 50 similar companies, benchmarking on Crunchbase as a platform. Now, after you have identified those companies and who their influential people are, send connections to all of them via LinkedIn. Drop these comments, drop these messages, drop whatever you need, and get these people to become your connections. Now, for the next segment, we'll be talking about what happens after these people have become your connections. Okay, so say you've sent Rosalia a message and she has responded. What do you do next? Now, this is extremely important. What happens most of the scenarios, even I'm going to literally use my own Instagram. Whenever people are sending messages, they tend to literally get straight to the point. They want to sell to you immediately. They want to ask you, okay, so I want to sell this and this to you. Are you interested in it? And whenever you go direct to the point with many people, most of the time people just do not respond to those queries. Now, what I'm going to do for this segment, I'm going to literally show you a better way of you managing that first message, because it's the first message that gets you into the door with the people. Now, what you need to understand about that segment is, number one, people are more or less self-centered. It's not a good trait per se, but most people are self-centered. Meaning, for you to get their attention, you're going to do one thing. You're going to literally talk about what they're doing and how impressive they are and what they're doing is amazing. Literally play around with their egos. Get there, talk about what they're doing. If he shared a recent post recently, talk about how you found that very interesting. If they've just achieved something, raised some money, talk about them, man, nice, well enough. Been following in the background, you tend to get better reception that way. People tend to revert to you much better than a situation where you don't necessarily talk about what you're doing. So step number one is talk about what they're doing. Get people to understand that, oh man, what they're doing is amazing. You will tend to get better conversion that way. Now, the first message, personal recommendation is don't even try to sell to the person. Just leave them blank. Don't even bother selling to them. Go ahead, talk about what they're doing, introduce yourself and tell them, man, what they're doing is amazing. That is what you do as step number one. Most of the time, people are going to respond to that message. They're going to talk about, wow, yeah, it's a pleasure. Thank you for doing this. Now, after they have done that, try to create some rapport first. Don't get direct to selling. Don't just say, now I want us to meet. I want you to buy this thing. Try and create some kind of rapport other than just the business. You could say, you know what, I actually wanted to pick your mind on a couple. Given your experience, I wanted to pick your mind on a couple of things. Go ahead and get the person to understand that, okay, this person actually values me. So get them to want to interact with you, because like I said, it's much easier to sell to people that already know you and like you. So the first step is try and drive that person from a point of they don't know you to a point of them, and we have some kind of relationship between me and this guy. So I'm more biased, more inclined to give them the favor in case that they do. So in that second step, ideally just focus on creating that relationship between you and your brand and I mean you as an individual, the individual salesperson, and the person that you want to close. So yes, after you have then gone ahead and created this relationship, give it a week or two. That is when you can go ahead and now talk about, you know what, we actually have this that we're doing. Could we possibly meet? After you have gone ahead and done those steps. So yes, just to give you a recap, step number one is first identify what your audience is. Step number two is prospect. Literally use Crunchbase, use LinkedIn, use Instagram, use Zoom Info, and all these other platforms that are available to not only look for information of who is behind the companies I'm interested in, but who is similar to these companies that I'm interested in. After you have put together a list of 50, 80 people that you're probably going to reach out, then go ahead and message. But your messaging pattern should be first create a relationship, meaning talk about the stuff they are doing, talk about what you share in interests, talk about how they are amazing. After you have created that, pick their mind on point number one, pick their mind on point number two. Then after some time, that is when you go ahead and try to convince this person as to why they need your products. Your rate of conversion will skyrocket from like a 10% to possibly 50, 60%. And yes, that is the best process to follow when you're B2B prospecting. And if there is any question that you have for me, please go ahead and leave it in the comment section, either on TikTok, or for the people that are attending the webinar, you could leave it right in the comment section of the webinar. So yes, in line with B2B prospecting, that's all from me today. And I'll just give it a minute or two for anyone that has a question to leave that there. So yes, for anyone that has a question, please go ahead and leave it. But in a minute or two, I will possibly close this. I'll also make this video available on the Monkey Pesa YouTube channel, so you can review and get to actually and properly understand what B2B optimization is. The internet has lived our life, and 1, 2, 3, 4 platforms can literally give you all the information you need about any company anywhere in the world. So yes, that's all from me today, folks. I'll just give it a minute. And if there's no one that leaves any question, then I will go ahead and close that. Okay, so what we're going to do, we'll upload this video into our YouTube channel, so you could always look through it. You could always look through that and rewatch the video in case there's anything that you found interesting or you just need to recap on. And for those that missed this, this video is brought to you by Monkey Pesa. Monkey Pesa is an all-in-one customer support tool. We bring together all your conversations from Twitter, Facebook, all social media networks, your emails, your WhatsApp, your SMS, and put them into one platform, from which platform your customer support team and marketing or sales team can be in position to respond to customer queries. Once those queries are responded, they will be sent back to whatever relative platform is necessary. So if you believe that this is something that your business needs, please feel free to reach out to me after. But for now, that's all from me today, folks. Bye-bye.